Shawn Phetteplace joins us here at the desk here in Madison, our headquarters. He is the the campaigns director for Main Street Alliance. Shawn, thanks for braving the roads and being here.
Good to see you.
It's great to see you. Have you moved the mic just a little bit closer here so Zombers could get a good volume? There we are. Great to have you back. I know you were on Earl's show this morning. For people who haven't heard of Main Street Alliance, tell folks a little bit about your organization and what you do.
Yeah, so Main Street Alliance is a network of about 30,000 small business owners all throughout the country. We have about 2,000 members here in Wisconsin, and we really work to focus on the issues that matter to them. Can I get health care? Can we afford childcare? Do we have paid leave for our business? And we really work to help to elevate the voices of small business owners with elected officials so that they actually do their job.
Yeah, I have a great admiration for your organization as a former small business owner myself. Have had a couple of coffee shops here in the Madison area, and boy, when you're maybe you're the only full-time employee and you have a handful of other part-time folks. You just don't always have time to take care of yourself because you're putting it all into the business and into your customers and whatnot. And it's great to have organizations like Main Street Alliance kind of watching out for you.
Yeah, and I was going to say, as a small child, I was actually the child labor in my family's coffee shop.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's called Mountain Mocha in Sandy, Oregon. That's where I grew up. And my whole family's from Wisconsin, but bounced around a little because my dad's shop growing up. But, really saw firsthand how hard people work. And it gave them the independence where my family could spend time together too. And so it really meant a lot. And for a lot of business owners, they have a dream, and it's our job to make sure that they can actually achieve that dream.
That's awesome. How long have you actually been with Main Street Alliance?
Almost 5 years.
That's awesome. And you've seen market growth, I think, in your membership here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, we hadn't done as much work in the past year up until right before the pandemic hit. And we've grown to about 2,000 members across the state. Here locally, Chef Dave Heidi, Chef Patrick DePola. I mean, we have a lot of members in Madison, but we have been very deliberate not to just focus on the cities. We have a lot of folks. I know you visited with TJ up at Wonder State Coffee.
Wonder State Coffee. They're wonderful people. We did a whole show he was so kind. We did a whole show from right there on their main cafe in Viroqua.
Yeah, and he actually just spoke with Eric Gunn of the Wisconsin Examiner to talk about the struggles in terms of being able to provide health care to his employees. And I know that ties in to what we're going to talk about here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into that, though, I want to kind of suss this out because people hear this all the time. They hear Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce. They hear Wisconsin Chambers of Commerce, Main Street Alliance. To the layperson, this all sounds like, oh, what's the difference? Aren't they all the same, just taking care of big or small businesses? There is a market difference, and we don't have to go into every one of those organizations I mentioned, but what makes Main Street Alliance unique in all the other organizations out there?
So I would say that we have a huge difference of views on issues. Our membership generally is more heavily female, it's more diverse, and tend to be a lot of sole proprietors or people with less than 10 staff. That is not who WMC is looking out for. WMC is looking out for very large manufacturers. And honestly, they're a very political organization, so much so that that's their main driver. And often they don't even do what's in the best interest of their own membership. And National Federation of Independent Business, another example of that. And so I think that there's good people part of those organizations, but I think that they're misguided in terms of their views that it's very much race to the bottom. And can we slash and cut regulations so there's none? I don't want to pay any taxes. We believe in high values employers and people who want to do the right thing to help take care of their folks, to be able to grow the economy, but they just need a little bit of help to be able to achieve that.
We one of the things we've done this year, we hope to do in 2025, is we take this show on the road. We call him my broadcasting friend and from Lincoln Project, Trygve Olson. He usually goes along. We call it What Makes Wisconsin Great Tours. And we talk to small businesses all across Wisconsin, whether it's Wonder State in Viroqua. We've been to the winery down in Mount Horeb, or not Mount Horeb, New Glarus, pardon me. We're all across the state. And what I love about it is the commonality that cuts through partisan politics. Because I think I've seen a lot of polls, and actually maybe not ironically, but interestingly, that when you ask the question or rank a bunch of issues, small business polls well, quote unquote, with both Republicans and Democrats. It actually brings people together because I think most people want to see their small businesses in their community succeed because they don't want to drive a long ways to get what they want.
That's exactly right. And we're really a small business state. I mean, you just go down here on State Street in Madison. Literally, I can look out there and see 5 small businesses and just within view. And so I think it's really important to understand that, especially in those small towns, all throughout the Driftless, all throughout the North Woods, all throughout, the central part of the state, it really is essential that they get what they need. But, the state legislature really hasn't been representing their values over the course of the last 12 years. And thankfully, now that the gerrymander's gone, they're going to be held a lot more accountable to what's happening on those main streets. And so that's something I'm really excited personally to be able to work with our folks on.
It is 41 minutes past the hour of 12 noon. We're talking with Shawn Phetteplace. He is the campaigns director for Main Street Alliance here in the state of Wisconsin. And talk a little bit now about this new legislative session coming on. We get through the holidays. And then right off in 2025, in January, the new legislative session starts, as you said, partly certainly due to the fairer maps as a result of the new state Supreme Court. Republicans don't have quite the majorities as they do. They don't have the supermajority in the state Senate anymore. Things are tighter in the Assembly. And I know one of the issues that you're working to help small business people with is this issue of health care. And again, I'll talk about it later as somebody went through this, but talk a little bit about why you want to expand BadgerCare and what this really means for small business owners all across the state of Wisconsin.
So I would say first off, there are a lot of reasons why it's going to help our small business owners, but I'll first talk about math. Over the last 10 years, we would have received $2.4 billion more if we had expanded BadgerCare. And over the course of the next 2 years, it would save us $1.7 billion. Right now, the status quo is we're paying more money for worse coverage. And it's just really important for people to understand that this is a political decision, not a policy decision. Governor Scott Walker, what he did was he expanded Medicaid coverage for everyone, able-bodied adults, up to 100% of poverty. And then for 100 to 138% of poverty, those folks could go into the marketplace. Now, that sounds like a possible solution, right? Except for the fact that if you're 137% of poverty, can you afford a deductible? Probably not. And so there's been this very dishonest argument to say that this hybrid solution is what actually worked. And in fact, it's not working for a lot of those folks in that segment. And if we just take the money, that's all we have to do. We just have to say yes. Then those folks are going to benefit, and it's going to benefit many people who are thinking about starting businesses, staff in those businesses, and a lot of entrepreneurs who just need access to better quality healthcare.
So let's stop there, pause there for a second, and explain to folks, because you and I, we follow this stuff a lot. A lot of people are like, what does this mean? Take the money. And I was in the building, as they call the state capitol, when Walker was governor. And this is a choice. Explain to people there is a choice here to take this federal money to apply to Wisconsinites. And we're one of how many states? Not very many.
10
states that doesn't take this money that is available. It is a choice. And why is that?
And I would just say North Carolina just expanded Medicaid not long ago. Hundreds of thousands of people got coverage. Iowa took it, Republican state. Indiana took it, Republican state. It's basically us in the Deep South that haven't taken it. And so back after the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare, passed, the Supreme Court ruled that states didn't have to take the expansion. That was an optional thing. And so over time, there was, it became a very partisan issue. Many Republican states didn't take it. Many Democratic states did. But over time, the math just overwhelmingly convinced many Republican-led states to take the funds. We've literally said no for 10 years. Every budget, it's come up. The governor here has proposed it in each of his budgets. They've said no. And Speaker Robin Vos has said, and I quote, "It's going to pass over my dead body." That's the phrase he used. I probably wouldn't phrase that about people's access to healthcare personally. But, there's a lot of people that, frankly, don't have the quality coverage they need because of this. And, 90,000 people either would receive coverage for the first time or would have better quality coverage. 10 years of almost 100,000 people. How many of those people had cancer they didn't catch, or diabetes issues, or other health issues? There are real consequences to not taking this money. And so if we take it from the feds, we can get it done, and hopefully we can get it done in this budget.
I think that's so important to let people know that these available dollars were passed in a bipartisan fashion at the federal government via Obamacare. The Supreme Court, as you said, well, actually, you don't have to take it if you don't want it. So it opened the door for hyper partisan folks like Scott Walker, who have an old narrative that somehow assistance is a bad thing. That oh, you must be a lazy bum if you want to take BadgerCare. Well, look, when I had a coffee shop, I was working 90 plus hours a week, and I was supporting 6 other people in part-time capacities and paying them. There were months that I never, in the 2 years I had it, never took an actual salary for myself, and went 2 years without any health care.
Yeah.
And then I had the next coffee shop, and I was finally able to get on BadgerCare, which, to your point, it wasn't Cadillac coverage, which is what Robin Voss and all the legislature has and their staff. But yet they want to, and they say they support small business people, but there are hundreds, if not thousands, of men and women across the state that say, I'd like to start a flower shop. I'd like to start a feed and seed, but I can't afford to quit my corporate or whatever job because I can't afford the health insurance. This would allow that. But Robin Voss and the Republican leadership says, no. Do I have that right? Keep me honest.
You met with TJ. TJ was on BadgerCare with his family when he started Wonder State Coffee because he wasn't paying himself a salary because that's what was needed. This often gets conflated as like a moral issue, ethical issue. It's a business issue. It's whether or not people can take that risk. There are so many people I met where one spouse is in a corporate or government job just to have benefits for the family, where that person, if they were able to, both of them work in the business. You have folks that have a 9 to 5 and they also are doing the business, and it's not growing as quickly as it could because they have to keep that job for health care. It really is, if we expand BadgerCare for those folks who are getting started, it can really be a leg up. And, once they are earning more, then they won't be in it anymore. And so that's the thing, is that people aren't going to reduce their business activities because they want to remain eligible for BadgerCare expansion. And so in the end, it is really impeding that issue. And also, frankly, many small business owners can't afford to provide health insurance. Big businesses can. So when you're competing for talent and staff, that is a huge impediment. This could help deal with that.
Totally agree. Here's a little statistic for all of our listeners across Wisconsin. How much do you pay every month for your health care coverage? Your portion of it. When I was in the state legislature, I don't think it's changed dramatically last time I checked. All those legislative staffers that work in the building up the road here, they pay $78 a month is their portion, with zero deductible for most things. How does that square with what you're paying out there, folks? 855-752-4842 if you want to call in. We'll come on back with Shawn Phetteplace from Main Street Alliance right here on the Civic Media Ready Network. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show for a snowy Thursday on Civic Media. Shawn Phetteplace, the campaign director for Main Street Alliance, is here in the studio with us. Ever been to Chula Vista, Shawn?
No, but I want to go. Maybe I'll enter.
You're eligible. You're not an employee. So text in next hour. We'll tell you. Shawn, so great to have you here talking a little bit about Main Street Alliance, supporting small businesses across the state, and really access to more affordable and good health care via BadgerCare for our small business owners. Listening up in beautiful Spooner, Wisconsin. Paul on WBZH, Buzz of the North in Hayward. I bet you the Hayward people are loving this because it was touch and go when we were up there last year for the Birkenbinder. They need snow for the Berkey. So this starts now. It's a beautiful place. Anyway, Paul and Spooner says, not accepting the expansion money from the federal government, the people pay more, leaving less to spend on Main Street.
I think that's a really good point. I mean, if folks are paying less in premiums and out-of-pocket costs, then they're going to have more money to spend in their local community.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, just to set the stage again, this was a decision first by Scott Walker and now by the Republicans in the legislature to refuse, to turn down. He said one of 10 states in America who's not taking this available money from the feds via Obamacare, which means there's less money available for Wisconsin, which means less BadgerCare out there. Explain in really 30,000 foot levels what BadgerCare is to folks.
BadgerCare is Medicaid. It's what we call Medicaid. Governor Tommy Thompson to his credit, when he was governor, helped to expand the program, helped to make sure more people were eligible, that it was better quality coverage. And in fact, that helped to inform some of what happened during the Affordable Care Act debate when Obamacare was passed. And so people who are up to 100% of poverty, which is not very high. It's about $12,000 for an individual, gets into the 20s for a family. It's still very low. Folks are able to get coverage through that. And then if people are above 100% of poverty, they can go into the Affordable Care Act marketplace, where they pay premiums for a plan, and they get subsidies that are in the form of tax credits. So that helps to make it lower cost. Some folks have very low premiums, but they still have high out-of-pocket costs. And so it's important to know that with that segment, that 100 to 138% of poverty, it's about getting them better options, which is BadgerCare expansion.
Yeah, I think I was on BadgerCare for like a little over a year and a half while I had the small business. I think, don't quote me on this, I think my premium was like $160 a month. And yeah, it wasn't Cadillac coverage, but if I fell down, broke a leg, or God forbid had a heart attack, it would have covered all those. I wouldn't have had to declare bankruptcy, as many people do, if I would have had a major healthcare event, and it covered basic prescriptions as well. And so it gave me some peace of mind that I wasn't going to lose my business if I had a healthcare issue. Talk, Shawn, in about the 4 minutes we have left here, what you're doing here in the new legislative session to get this BadgerCare expanded, and maybe as or more importantly, what can our listeners do to help you guys get this done?
So I would say, first off, if you're a small business owner or supporter, go to mainstreetalliance.org and sign up, and you'll get updates on ways you can take action. We are going to have a lobby day in March. We're relentlessly contacting lawmakers. We've been having meetings already on this. 14 seats in the state legislature flipped. It is still a majority controlled by Speaker Voss and Lemieux in the Senate. However, there are many Republican lawmakers who did not win by a whole lot. And so they are more susceptible to public pressure than they have been in years. So that is why it's so important. You know, if you just Google Wisconsin State Legislature, look up your legislator, give them a call. Give them a text, email them.
I wonder if what you just said is so important. Call or text your legislator.
Yes.
Because as a former legislative staffer, when somebody is calling in from another district, honestly, it doesn't make a lot of difference. But when it's your boss's constituent, that makes a world of difference.
Exactly. And as a former staffer myself for Congressman Ron Kind and other people, I can tell you it doesn't take a lot. If you hear of an office hears 10 people from 10 people, 20 people about a topic, that's going to get your boss's attention. And so ultimately, politics is about a game of attention and change. And so by contacting your lawmaker, just say, happy holidays. By the way, when you get back, do your job. Please pass Medicaid expansion, and tell them your personal story.
Yes.
Yeah.
100. No, go ahead.
Yeah. So again, go to mainstreetalliance.org and sign up there, and you'll get contacted about ways that you can contact your lawmakers, our lobby day, and just like really make sure that our voice is heard loud and clear here in Madison.
1 minute left. Shawn Phetteplace, is there anything I have not asked you? I want to make sure our listeners know about this.
I would say that things are starting to change in the legislature, and I think there's a lot of good people who just got elected. There are a lot of new Republicans who got elected in their seats, and then amongst the Democratic folks in the Assembly, 23 are new, 22 are coming back. A majority are new folks, and there's a lot of good energy, a lot of good organizers in that area, and that gives an opportunity to be able to see some change on this issue, because you have a lot of folks who are new to the process, but it's up to us to educate them on this issue and to really make sure that they are advocating for it in the halls of the Capitol.
Shawn Phetteplace, campaigns director for Main Street Alliance. Thanks so much for braving the snow, being here. Thanks for all the work that your organization does.
Thank you, Todd.